Welcome, everyone, to the Asian Voices Radio podcast, where you'll find real Asian American conversations about all things, including the topics you were too afraid to ask your Asian parents. I'm your host, Hula Ramos, and joining me today is my co host, Sheena Yap Chan. How are you, Sheena?
Hey Hula, I'm doing very well today. Thanks again for having me. It's been such an honor to be here hosting with you. And today I have a very special guest. She was actually on my podcast last year, and she has such an amazing story because, she's an actress who's been in Hollywood for over 5 decades. And she just has an amazing story of how she became an actress in Hollywood. And, being an Asian woman, trying to be an actress in like the 50s and the 60s is not something that's very typical, right? And just the way she
Right.
just describes it, and, just being a trailblazer for so many other Asian people who want to be in the entertainment space. This is just a story that everyone needs to hear. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Irene Tsu. Irene, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you. Great. It's great to live in Los Angeles. The weather is so beautiful. I mean, blue skies, even though the traffic is back, but, still very, very thankful.
Absolutely. Irene, let's start off from the very beginning. Share with us your background, and how you ended up here in the United States.
Well, I was born in Shanghai and I left when I was 3 years old. So don't really, couldn't say I remember Shanghai, but, things that you think you remember or maybe your mother told you or something, so
Right.
that's how it is. And I, came to, when we lived in Hong Kong when I was in elementary school and came to the United States. And when I was 11, going on 12, and somehow ended up in New York only because we have relatives there. My mother is one of six sisters. Yeah, so we somehow went to live in New York, and it was decided that we should live in Larchmont, New York, which is sort of upstate a little bit, So we never really lived in a Chinese community, and we lived with, I guess it was an aunt or somebody like that. And uh, we were, I mean, I was allowed to watch TV on Saturday night only. And my sister, who's younger, and she was in elementary school, and I must have been in sixth grade or whatever, or, seventh grade, because in Hong Kong it's kind of different because they form one to form five, and here we have middle school. It was all kind of new to me once we moved into Manhattan, and where my mother, she's a very very good artist, and she
Hmm.
started working, um, for an art. They were textile designers. That's what they were called. So she was doing textile designing for a firm, and so I was, we moved to Manhattan, and so we moved into an apartment which was owned by her art teacher from China, and he's very famous. And there were just world class paintings in that apartment. It's a 13-room apartment. And little did I know that they were, of such famous Chinese artists, and they got them out before the communists took over, and because they wanted to save those paintings. And I, as a child, really didn't know what they were, so I would be roller skating into those. One was a five-piece gold uh, like a folded up thing, I we used it as a room divider, you know. So yeah, so it was very interesting growing up, and I really never thought about being an actress. It was a kind of complete of an accident. I mean, I have to tell you that my first passion was to be a ballerina. I
Hmm.
wanted to be. I guess I saw a poster in Hong Kong uh, at a bus stop or something, and it was like it was called the Red Shoes, and I was mesmerized by those red ballet shoes. So I did beg my mother to, take me to ballet school. So went to the ballet school since I was 8 or 9 years old, and every 4 years, at that time, Hong Kong was very British. It was part of the Commonwealth, they called it, and so I go, okay, so my teacher enrolled me into this test or exam that they have once in every 4 years in Hong Kong. So I went, and I don't know, I was told to do a series of, uh, series of steps and a little
Hmm.
combination of some sort. And my God, a month later, they said that I won, and won what? You know, to the Royal Ballet. It was called the Sadler's Wells Ballet at the time in London.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I was a little scrawny kid. So my father flew in from Taiwan and had a meeting with them in the high rise, in Hong Kong. And so I'm just standing there holding my mother's hands, very scared. And so my father, asked them, what is this? So they told me that it was, I would be, told to sleep, went to sleep, eat what they wanted me to eat, and then I would have my regular school like 4 hours a day and have ballet training like 5 hours a day. I mean, it was just like going into a convent or something.
Right.
And not only that, there's no guarantee that you're going to be a prima ballerina or in the corps de ballet, and then you will have to work for them for 7 years, like an indentured servant, to pay off your training, so to speak, So, and my dad looked at me and go, "Wow, this little, this little girl or kid is never gonna be a prima ballerina. I mean, look at her." Because not only you have to do everything they tell you, but you have to measure up because they gotta, have all to be about the same size. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In the ballet, right? You can't have one short one and one very tall and one, you know. So, so he just said no right then and there. But also because we had applied to come to the United States, and it took like about 6 or 7 years or whatever the process was. And we came to America under the Refugee Relief Act, that was
Mm.
called. Yeah. And so we came, and on a boat, so
Right.
uh, yeah, you know, landed in San Francisco, and under the Golden Gate Bridge. San Francisco is a breathtaking place. It's really really beautiful. I don't know where you guys are, but
Right.
San Francisco is a beautiful, physically beautiful city. So we went there, and instead of flying to New York, we took a train because we had so much luggage or something. I mean, so much furniture. I don't know, whatever it is. So, so we took a train and went to New York, and I don't know how many days it took. And I've never seen snow before in my life, so my sister and I ran out and carried snow into the train. And my mother says, "Oh, get out of here." And so, and this is how we ended up in New York. And uh, I don't know. After a few years, I started taking dance lessons because that's my love. That's my true love. And somehow I went to an audition for Flower Drum Song, uh, and I came out to Los Angeles. And in Flower Drum Song, I've never been in a movie before, and I didn't really know that they have created an entire Grant Avenue on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was one of the dancers, and you know, and but that was sort of a jazz dancing, not ballet. but
Right.
when you're a dancer, you pick up, the jazz dancing, meaning that it's the kind of thing that they have in West Side Story or something like that.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, so so the director of Flower Drum Song actually told me that he was doing a movie, after this one, um, called uh, whatever. He didn't tell me the name. He said, when you can stop by the office, I will give you the script. I've never read a script before. I didn't know, what's what. And he said, with Jimmy. And I don't know who he meant, Jimmy, who, Jimmy. So I asked around the set and I said, he's doing a movie with Jimmy. Who is Jimmy? They said, oh, Jimmy Stewart, who is huge actor. I mean, if you look him up, and he is just a brilliant, huge actor.
Hmm.
And so, sure enough, I ended up in this movie, and he said, "Do you speak French?" I said, "Well, I had some, like, you know, middle school or high school French because of ballet. Everything, the terms are in French." And I go, "Okay, well, Uh, you know, so I saw something in French. I didn't know that the whole thing was in French because apparently in this movie it was like Jimmy Stewart goes to Paris to look for his daughter who he can't find somehow, and he was looking all over Paris and then ended up in a bar. And I'm this French hooker who said, "Oh, a customer at last." So I went to hustle up a drink for him and help him dial the phone and speak French. So my whole first movie was entirely in French, and
I love that. I feel like then that was the start of like an incredible career. I'm looking over your filmology here and it shows, you had a lot of great films in the 60s and 70s, even TV shows. People may have seen you on Perry Mason TV show, My
yeah,
Favorite Martian, I Spy. I mean, these are legendary TV shows and movies. You were on Paradise, Hawaiian Style, Women of the Prehistoric Planet, like so many amazing films and TV
yeah,
shows. My question for you is, you've dealt with so much. Obviously you turned into this actress, being able to fulfill roles that a lot of Asian women weren't being able to be given. How was that for you? Did your identity, like, did you even think like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting these roles and I'm an Asian woman," or was that not even a thing for you? Did you not even think about that?
I didn't think about it. Usually, it's you have to go through the regular casting process. But I was always taking lessons, going to workshops, and I had to get an agent. And I had this agent who was this Japanese man, and he was just incredible. I don't know if you had a chance to read my book, my
Your memoir.
bio, yeah, my memoir, and published by Bear Manor Media, and they, fast tracked it out last year because they figured that people were staying home and may read a little more, whatever it is. So it's been a very, very strange year. Um, so so I was. It was took a lot of time to write it, and I didn't know where to start. But the reason I wrote it was because I had a college professor that always wanted me to write a book, and I said, "Tom, I'm not a writer. I'm an actor." Now I'm like, I don't know,
Right.
So
No, it's amazing. For those that we'll definitely put a link to the book where you can get it, but it's called A Watercolor Dream: The Many Lives of Irene Tsu, and it definitely, you have this metaphor of using watercolor brush strokes to kind of describe your life, starting off as a ballerina and then becoming this amazing actress, and I love it. I love the metaphor. I love the beauty of the title, and I love how it eloquently, talks about your life, especially the fact that you talk about everything, including, okay, let me just dive into a couple things. You met and smelled Elvis Presley.
well, yeah. The thing was that I was casted into this. Somehow they always cast me as a kind of Polynesian or whatever,
Right, right.
and so I went to the audition and I got the part. So next thing I know, I was in Honolulu at the Polynesian Culture Center. I suppose it's still there,
It is still there,
and
yes.
it's still there. Okay, good. I mean, it is one of my favorite places because the air there is so good.
Oh,
And
yes.
so yes, and I have a lot of friends there, and so I was just went to lunch and just basically I wasn't working that day and just to greet everybody, say hello, whatever. So I went back to the my dressing room to lie down for a while, and the air condition wasn't working,
Uh-huh.
so nothing
Uh-huh.
was working. So I thought I better go out to find somebody to fix it. And so I went out and I didn't know which way I was going, and I was walking, and all of a sudden I felt a hand, like right, right, like 10 inches from me, and I go, oh my god! I looked up, and it said, wait a minute, where are you going? I said, well, I was thinking, my air conditioning wasn't working, and I thought to, just lie down somewhere, where it's cool. He said, well, I got to check with Elvis. And I thought, holy crap, holy crap. This is like really like these things are going worse. So he comes back in 2 seconds and he said, fine, sure, you can come in, young lady, just follow me. So I went there and they put me in some kind of room, which of course is cool. It was the Queen's hut or Queen's shack or Queen's place. So I was laying down in what seems to be like a massage table
Hmm.
and they brought a towel, and just covered me up, and I just kind of closed my eyes and drifted off, and I didn't know. Time passed. I just looked up, and I woke up and there was Elvis, like about 12 inches from my head, putting a cold compress on my head forehead, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this what even this guy looks like? Nobody really looks like Elvis. I don't think anybody still looks like Elvis. So he said, can you want something to drink or something to eat or whatever? And I didn't know what to say. So the first thing that came into my senses was that he smelled like, you know, talcum powder or milk, you know?
Talcum powder or milk. I love that. I mean, looking at him, he's so classy, and you see all those old movies, and you hear his music, and I love that. I love that Elvis smells like talcum powder and milk. That's a
Yeah,
beautiful memory. And then also, not to jump the gun or anything, but a little birdie told me you're also associated with one Frank Sinatra. Can you
I
share
don't know.
that?
Yeah. Well, it was just I did a very big commercial for Standard Oil, at that
Uh-huh, right.
time, 69, 70 or whatever. And I was because I was a dancer, and then it was they said, well, do Tahitian, and I said, well, Tahitian, and then I got I'm a ballet dancer or a jazz dancer, but Tahitian. He said, you got a whole day, go get some tapes or something and learn it,
Right.
Tahitian dancing is not easy. I mean, real Tahitian dancing. They've been doing it since they were kids,
Right.
and I go, oh, okay, So, which I mean, the thing is, being an actor or in any kind of business, you have to have some gift, and then you have to have luck, and then the timing. So when I met Sinatra, I mean, he saw me on TV like 40 times a day because that commercial was running so much, you know. And
Mhm.
actually, I was in two commercials at that time. The Hawaiian Punch, I become kind of their national spokesperson and did all the posters and whatever, whatever. And then I was doing the commercial. The commercial is like a series, because it's out of Madison Avenue, and the executives go wherever they wanted to go. Take their families. Shoot it in the Bahamas, shoot it in Hawaii, shoot it in whatever. I had my personal makeup person and personal, you know, uh, wardrobe person. Not that there was a lot of wardrobe, but that's what happened. My agent calls me and said, you should look up so and so. I had just done a picture with Doris Day, and he's in Miami, and you gotta go look him up and have lunch with him. And he's a very, very nice man. So I said, sure. I called him up, and sure enough, 2 days later, he said, well, I want you to have lunch with me at the Fontainebleau in Miami. Fontainebleau. I guess it's still there. I don't know, some big hotel. I've never been there, so I got there, and I thought it was just him and me having lunch, but there was like a whole table of people, like seven, eight, nine people were there, and the only seat that was, you know, empty. So I had to go sit there. And I looked up, and there was Frank Sinatra, and I thought, oh my gosh, where am I going to look at? I don't want to be staring, you know, and I don't want to be staring. So I kind of kept, my eyes glued to the plate of food and, kept eating it. And when I finished eating, I was very happy and just say goodbye, and I got to go back to work or whatever, And that was it. So I thought, wow, that'd be very nice to tell my sister or my friends, guess what? I had lunch with Frank Sinatra. And,
Right.
and so little did I know, 2 weeks later, I'm back in LA, and I was in a private club in Beverly Hills. Was sitting there. It was very crowded as usual, and people were dancing, whatever. And I had to go to the ladies' room, and I saw this line to the ladies' room. I don't know what is going on. So I went there, waited in line, and sure enough, there was Frank Sinatra in a corner booth with another actor who I worked with, you know, another Italian, the Italian people, Harry Gardino or something. They're all from Jersey,
Right.
so and it's like an Italian enclave or something. So he said, "Come on, come on, sit down, say hello, how have you been, or whatever it is." So I squeezed into the booth, and there he was again. I go, "Oh my gosh, this is like, now this time he's a little bit more relaxed. The guy is never relaxed. Okay, I guess how can he be, because he's been in the public eye for so long,
Hmm. Right. Right.
and so I thought, wow, that was it. I had met him twice now, So I went home, and the next day, would you know, a restaurateur who used to be an actor, and he was a very famous restaurant in Los Angeles, calls me up and said, I have a dinner, favorite table waiting for you tonight, 7:30. Okay, and I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, Sinatra. He's ordered that special table, and he's going to pick you up at 7:30. Okay, be on time. Make sure, because very punctual. And I just went into a total, you know, shock is like, you know, like what to wear. Women always think about what am I going to wear to the dinner thing with a virtual stranger, and that was how it started. And he was actually just got divorced from Mia Farrow, and she was like my age, I think, and at that time, I don't think too many men were interested in Asian women. He was like really ahead of his time. So oh my gosh, this is really terrible. What am I gonna wear? So the phone rings promptly, like at 5 minutes to 7. Baby, who the hell is that baby? It's like, you know what? I can't go home because all the paparazzis are all over in front of my house. I'm heading down to the desert, and I want you to come down this weekend. So and so is gonna pick you up, blah 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 blah. And I did like almost didn't hear a word, of what he said. I was just so relieved that I didn't have to go to dinner. I just kicked off my high heel shoes and, oh my God, I could order a pizza and just oh gosh, just lay down. So that's how it started, really. Hmm.
Wow, I mean, that's a great story that you shared. And I know you have worked with a lot of big name actors and actresses, and you were also recently one of the voices of a Netflix animated movie, right? Over the Moon, which I really
Yeah,
enjoyed.
yeah. Oh,
I love showing my
yeah.
nephew that because we never had movies that really had like Asian representation. And who are some of your favorite actors that you've worked with over the time in your whole like acting career?
I mean, they're all great in their own ways. It's just I guess like I said, you have to have some gifts and you have to have some luck and timing. And I definitely enjoyed, Elvis. But there's no rehearsals with these major stars like John Wayne and the Green Berets. They don't rehearse. I mean, you show up on the set and play basically, whatever you have to do, you have to do. So, which was kind of scary, right? And one of the sets I was on was really very disrespectful, was Wonder Woman. People are playing cards and listening to radio and everything. So you want to rehearse or something, and you can't even you know hear yourself or concentrate, because it does take a lot of concentration. Filmmaking is not easy because I'm just only dealing with in front of the camera, because behind the camera so much things goes on. I mean, my God, it's a very tech industry. I
Mhm.
heard, because I'm a member of the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences. A lot of times I have gone to screenings, and they would have people, over. They would have like Martin Scorsese, and they were talking about how he was shooting The Irishman. I believe it was a few years ago, right? And they had 9 cameras going at the same time, doing like close-ups and medium shots or long shots and master.
What are some of your latest projects that you're working on now?
Interestingly, the year that I did Over the Moon was because I also did a TV series. It was Netflix Universal TV called Away, and it stars Hilary Swank, and we filmed it in Vancouver. And Vancouver is a beautiful city also, but it rained nonstop, and you know, just for like 5 days or 4 days. It just rained nonstop, so I didn't want to stay any longer. But also getting the visa to Vancouver and everything, it was just a little bit of a hassle, I would have to say. And I had never met any of the actors, and I played the mother to one of the uh, uh, astronauts. It's about a kind of a sci-fi, not sci-fi, but it's a mission to Mars, a 3-year mission to Mars, and they uh, they they wanted me to speak Beijing dialogue. It's really not just your Mandarin, because Beijing dialect. So I had a dialect coach there, because it's very you
Mhm.
know, it's all like very tongue curling, very not easy if you don't speak it every day. But as an actor, you do what you have to do. So I had a dialect coach, and did that. And not only that, then there's post. There's always post production that you have to go show up at a certain time and do whatever it is that you have to do, and do the whole thing over again. I said, oh my God, I did the whole thing already in Vancouver. Do I have to do that? You have to show up at this time because the guy that is listening to your voice is in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
Okay? I said, yeah. So it's like everywhere, people. And I go, oh, okay. So I showed up there and they did the whole thing again. And, it's a very difficult business, because, like I said, making a film is not, not definitely not an easy thing. You know.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't seem like it is. But I feel I'm online right now. I've already put in my Amazon cart a watercolor dream, The Many Lives of Irene Tsu. It's already in my cart. I'm about to push buy because I want to know more about your life. You're just fascinating. I wish we had more time with you. But for those of you that are wanting to learn more about her memoir, it's called A Watercolor Dream: The Many Lives of Irene Tsu. Irene, is there social media, or how can people follow up on your latest adventures?
Well, social media or Facebook, fortunately or unfortunately, we're all a little bit visible on Facebook. I do check it every other day or so, but I'm not, I'd rather go back to art where my
Right.
passion is right now. I really want to paint.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, and you can also, I know I looked up you have IMDb, so there's a ton of different ways we can interact with you. Irene, thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate your time and we appreciate your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want
And thank you.
No, absolutely. I want to thank our guest today, Irene Tsu, for joining us. To learn more about today's show, please visit AsianVoicesRadio.com. Also, if you have any suggestions for future topics, we'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to subscribe as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until next time, I'm Hula Ramos, and on behalf of my co-host, Sheena Yap Chan, we'd like to thank you for listening. And please join us for another exciting and thought-provoking Asian Voices radio show. We'll see you next week, everyone.